Begin today the Gemara on Daf Tzadik Ches Amud Beis, 4 lines up from the bottom of the Amud where it says Rab Chanina. The Gemara before was discussing when you're building a house for someone, how tall does the ceiling have to be? And it brought that the Chachamim learned it out from the Beis HaMikdash, that you take the width and the length of the house and you divide that in half. That's the height of the ceiling. Just like it was in the Beis HaMikdash, the Heichal was 40 by 20, which is 60 amas. You divide that in half, which is 30, and that was the height of the ceiling in the Beis HaMikdash. Okay, so in connection to this, the Gemara brings, Rab Chanina nafak l'kiryasa. Rab Chanina went out to the villages. Ramule kroi ahadadi, and people asked them the following contradiction of these two psukim. Ksiv, there's one pasuk that says, regarding the first Beis HaMikdash, V'habayis ashabona melech shloimel Hashem, the Beis HaMikdash that Shlomo Melech built, shishim ama orkai ve'esrim ama rochbai. It was 60 amas long, if you include the Heichal and the Kodesh HaKadoshim, and it was 20 amas wide. And then it says, a Shloishim ama kaimosai, and the height is 30 amas. But in another pasuk it says, V'lufnei advir, inside the Kodesh HaKadoshim. The dvir, this is the paroiches, or the wall, or the amatraxin it's called. Inside was Esrim ama oirich ve'esrim ama rochav. The Kodesh HaKadoshim was 20 by 20 amas. And ve'esrim ama kaimosai. And the height was 20 amas. So here it's saying that in the Kodesh HaKadoshim it wasn't 30 amas tall, but it was 20. That was the stira they asked Rab Chanina. Amalohu, so Rab Chanina answered them. Ki kachoshev, in this pasuk, when he's saying the measurement of 20 amas high, misfas kruvim ulamayla. He's measuring it from the top of the kruvim. The kruvim that we're talking about here, as the Rashbam brings, is the kruvim that Shlomo HaMelech built in the first Beis HaMikdash. There are the kruvim that were on top of the Arein, which was part of the the kapaides on top of the Arein. But then additionally, Shlomo HaMelech built 2 kruvim that were just on the ground, that were on the ground itself, and these kruvim were 10 amas high. So when it says here that the kruvim, that the height is 20 amas, it means from the top of the kruvim to the ceiling was 20 amas. But from the ground to the ceiling was 30 amas, as it says in the other pasuk. So what asks on this, my kamash malam. What is the pasuk coming to tell me? Why is the pasuk here counting the height from the top of the kruvim? Why not count it from the floor? Answers the Gemara, ha kamash malam. By the pasuk saying this, it's teaching me lamata kalamayla, that below in the 10 amas that the wall where the kruvim was similar to the way it is above that, which means as follows: ma'ala mayla, just like above the kruvim and above where the arein stands. Ein mishamish klum, there's nothing there; it's just empty airspace of the Kodesh HaKadoshim. Af lamata, so too below where you have the arein and you have the kruvim there. Ein mishamish klum. Even though you had there the kruvim and the arein, but nevertheless, the fact that they were there with a ness, they didn't take up any space. And this is, as the Gemara here is going to bring now, based on what it says, that the arein, and here the Gemara is going to try to say regarding the kruvim as well of Shlomo HaMelech, they themselves did not take up any space. And that's what it's saying, that just like Lamaila, above you had the 20 amas which were empty space, so too what was below in the 10 amas where the arein and the kruvim were, but nevertheless they were there b'derech nes, they didn't take up any space. It says the Gemara, Mesayeh le Rab Levi. What we're saying here is a proof for what Rab Levi said. Rab Levi v'iteim Rab Yechanan. This is the tradition we have from our ancestors. Mokim arein ukruvim, the space of where the arein was, and the kruvim, someone not going to say kruvim, because this is going to be a discussion soon in the Gemara. Einai min amida. The arein itself did not take up any space. Meaning if you would measure from one side of the arein to the other side of the arein, you would see that there was 10 amas on each side. Meaning the Kodesh HaKadoshim was 20 by 20. So when you measured from one side of the arein and from the other side of the arein, you would see that there was 10 amas. But if there was 10 amas on each side, where was the space for the arein itself? The arein did not take up space. It was there, and it had to be a certain space. The shear of the arein, 1.5 by 10.5 amas, by 2.5, that is 1.5 by 2.5. But yet it did not take up space. That was the ness of the arein in the Beis HaMikdash.
That is like a baden.
No, the arein itself, the actual arein itself. Tanya Nami Hachi, we learned this in a Braisa as well. Arein she'asa Moshe, the arein that Moshe Rabbeinu built, Yeshlei Revach Eser Amos L'chol Ruach V'Ruach. There was space of 10 amas when you measured from each side, and that was the 20 amas of the Kodesh HaKadoshim. So the arein did not take up any space. Now the chiddush of this, of Makamar and Enim and Amida. This is brought in Chassidus in different places, explaining that this is the expression of the ultimate revelation of the Shechina in the Kodesh HaKadoshim, the two opposites of Makamar and Enim and Amida, because it's not just saying the fact that it didn't take up space. On the other hand, the Aron itself had to be the specific measurement, the size it had to be. So meaning it needed to be a certain midah. So it was midah, it had to have a certain limited space of what it was, and at the same time Enim and Amida. So it's really a combination of two opposites, of Gvul and Bli Gvul at the same time. So this expresses the ultimate revelation of the Shechina, where Gvul and Bli Gvul, Eibush is not defined, not by Gvul, not by Bli Gvul. And even more so, over here it's Gvul and Bli Gvul together. Sometimes it says that this is the expression of the ultimate Kayach of the Eibush himself, Atzmus Tumahos, by the Eibush himself, it's Nimna and Nimnois. It can be two opposites at the very same time. This is the greatest revelation in the Kodesh HaKadoshim. Okay, now the Gemara gets back to the Kruvim. So this is speaking about the Aron. That's what Reb Levi said, and that's what it said in the Braisa. Now, besides that, there's also the Kruvim of Shlomo Melech that he made, that he placed on the floor in the Kodesh HaKadoshim. So the Gemara says, Amar Avinoi, Amar Shmuel, Kruvim b'nes hayoimdim. The Kruvim as well were there with a nes, meaning they also did not take up any space. What's the raya to this? Shenemar, because the pasuk says about these Kruvim that Shlomo Melech made. V'chomesh ames kanafa kruva achas. 5 ames was the length of the span of the wing that was spread out of the Kruvim. The Kruvim was made with wings. And v'chomesh ames kanafa kruva shenis. And the other wing of this Kruv was also 5 ames. And together that's Eser ames. Miktzais knafa vad ktzais knafa. From the one end of one wing to the other end of the other wing, so the span of both wings together is 5 ames each, is 10 ames. Okay, so now you had 2 of these Kruvim. So each one of the Kruvim had a wingspan of 10 ames, and you had both of these Kruvim that were inside in the Kodesh HaKadoshim side by side. So now the question is, so this is the wingspan, 10 ames. It's not gufayu heicha v'kaimi. Where is there space for the actual body of the Kruvim themselves? So the way the Gemara understands it right now is that the Kruvim had wings that came out of it, similar to the way it is by a human being, that the hands come out from the side of the body. So too the wings over here of these Kruvim were made on the side of the body of the Kruvim itself. The Kruvim itself was made like the shape of a human being, or the Kruvim by Moshe Rabbeinu, the Gemara will soon say it was made like the shape of a child. But the wings came out from the side of the Kruvim. So if the span of the wings of the Kruvim themselves were 5 ames each, 10 ames, and then you had one Kruv and another Kruv by its side, 10 and 10, that's 20. So where is there any space for the actual body of the Kruv itself that's in between the wings? Must be that just like by the Aron we said, that the Aron takes up no space, even though it was a space, but it did not take up any space. But the same thing also is with the Kruvim. Okay, but now on this though, the Gemara is going to ask a few different questions. That it's possible to say that regarding the Kruvim themselves, it's not a nes, that it did not have to be in this oifen, that it didn't take up any space. Okay, so the first question is Maskeflo Abaya. Abaya asks, but Vidilme, maybe by the Kruvim, the way the wings came out from the Kruvim is not like the hands by a person that comes out from the side of the body, but maybe it's like by a chicken, where the wings come out in the back of the body of the chicken, where the 2 wings come out from the same spot in the back of the chicken. So therefore you don't need any space, extra space for the body itself. So there's no raya that the body which was in between did not take up space. Maybe it's not in between. The wings come out from the back like a chicken. Maskeflo Rava asks a question, another shaila. V'dilme ze shaloi keneged ze havakaimi. Maybe the 2 Kruvim, our whole question was, if the Kruvim were both side by side, and the wings, the span of the wings went from wall to wall, and they're side by side, so where is there going to be space for the bodies? But maybe they weren't exactly side by side. One was a little bit forward, the one was a little bit back, and therefore there was space for them to be in the Kodesh HaKadoshim, space for the body as well, even if the wings come out from the side, like the hands of a person. Another question the Gemara asks, Maskeflo Ravacha Bar Yaakov, even if what we said till now is not true, but there's a third option we can say how it fit in. Vidilme Ba'alaksaina Avakaimi. Maybe the Kruvim were not, they were diagonal, not going from straight from Tzofin to Dorim, but and then it's not going to be enough space. It's exactly 20 amas, but maybe it was diagonal. When it goes diagonal, it's always going to be 1.4 from what, if it's 1 amma by 1 amma, it's going to be 1.4. So then by diagonal, you get more space. So the space, in the Rashbam, he draws a picture of the diagonal. So there'll be more space for the kruvim. This is the Rashbam's prat. Other Rishonim disagree with this. I didn't see inside the Rishonim what they say, but if it's diagonal, the question is, how did that not, the Aron was in the middle. How wasn't there a problem with the Aron? The reason why you say that with Pashtus that it was not diagonal, but they were side by side, because either it was behind the Aron or in front of the Aron, but if you're going diagonal, you have the Aron in between. I don't know, I'm not, so there are other pshatim with this, but this is the Rashbam's pshat, as you see here, the picture, that it was diagonal, so you get more space.
It should be more empty space on the side and at the ends.
There would be even extra space, you say, because okay, could be. Depends how big the body of the crew themselves were.
But the body of all the birds, right? It was straight, but the wings
stretched out. Diagonal. Correct. That could be okay. Maskav la Rav Huna bered Rav Yeshua. Another option. So the Gemara asks. Rav Huna bered Rav Yeshua asked, "V'dilme maybe beise me'iloi rovach." Maybe the inside, the interior of the Kodesh HaKadoshim, the way it was built. We had this before in the Gemara. It says the way they built the walls in those times was that the wall at the bottom was thicker, and then as the wall went up, it got thinner. That's in order for the wall to be sturdy at the bottom. So maybe when it says that the space of the Kodesh HaKadoshim is 20 by 20, that's at the bottom. But as you go up, there was some more space. And therefore there was some space for the body of the kruvim as well. Another kasha, Maskaflor of Papa asks, V'dilme, maybe Mechav have a kaifi yadayu. Maybe the hands or the wings of the kruvim, even if we're going to say that these wings are like hands and it's not diagonal and they are side by side, but maybe the wings were not totally stretched out, that is, to the full span. Maybe it was a little bit bent, so therefore there was space. The pasuk is saying that their full span, when it was stretched out, is 5 amas, but maybe it was made not fully stretched out. Another kasha, Maskeflo Rav Ashi asks, V'dilme shalchufi havim mishalchafi. Maybe they were shalchufi mishalchafi, which means, not 100% clear to me what this means. Rashbam says that it's that one wing was on another wing, like hugging one another. And therefore, it wasn't also not fully stretched out. There was space for it.
The meaning of the kruvim embracing, no?
Embracing, yeah, but that's the two kruvim on the Aron. I'm not sure over here. The shalchufi of Meshalchafi also was made in a way that the span of the wings wasn't totally stretched out. That it was they were overlapping. That's what it is. Yeah, the two wings were overlapping and hugging each other. Yeah, so therefore, as you see here from all these different kashas on what Gemara brought before B'Shem Shmuel, that the kruvim was benes and moimdim, the Gemara says there's no raya, lav dafka. But regarding the Arain, that we have the Braise and what Rabbi Yechanan and Rabbi Levi said, that the Arain was benes and moimdim. The Arain was makam Arain einem in amida. Okay, now the Gemara addresses regarding the positioning of these kruvim of Shlomo HaMelech, Keitzad hein oimdim. How are they standing? How are they positioned in the Kodesh HaKadoshim? Rabbi Yechanan and Rabbi Elazar. Rabbi Yechanan and Rabbi Elazar argue about this. Chad Omar, one says, we learn out from what it says in the pasuk by the kruvim that Moshe Rabbeinu built on the kapaides. Peneim ishalachiv. They were facing one another. V'chad Omar, another one says, Peneim labayis. That they weren't facing one another. They were facing the heichal, meaning they were positioned inside the Kodesh HaKadoshim, the two kruvim, but they were facing the bayis, the heichal, inside towards the Beis HaMikdash. Okay, so what we have, so now that's also the pasuk. That's a pasuk that it says by Shlomo HaMelech, Pneim Laboyes. So it's two different psukim. So the Gemara asks on this, the opinion that says that we learn out from what it says by Moshe Rabbeinu that they're facing one another. Baraksiv Pneim Laboyes. The other pasuk by the Beis HaMikdash by Shlomo HaMelech's kruvim it says Pneim Laboyes. Not really these two psukim. You could simply answer it's not a contradiction because one is written about the kruvim of Moshe Rabbeinu on the kapaides, and the other is about the kruvim of Shlomo HaMelech. But still, the Rashbam says the Gemara understands that we compare these two to each other, and therefore the Gemara is asking that there's a contradiction here. So which one is it? Answers the Gemara loy kashya. According to this opinion, that says that you learn out from Pnei Mishalachiv, that's really what describes mainly how the kruvim were. It's not a contradiction, the fact that it says in another pasuk that it was Pneim Labayis. Why? Kan Bizman Yisrael Oisen Ritzayin Shel Mokim. When Yidden are fulfilling Hashem's will, then they're facing each other, and that's the ikar of how they were made to be, like it says it by Moshe Rabbeinu. Kan Bizman Shein Oisen Ritzayin Shel Mokim. And here it's when Yidden are not fulfilling Hashem's will, then it says Pneim Labayis, that the Kruvim turned away from each other and they're just facing towards the Beis Hamikdash. That's according to this opinion. According to the other opinion, it says Upneim Labayis. When it says in the pasuk that they were placed there inside, facing the Beis Hamikdash, and they were not facing each other. So Haksiv Upneim Mishalachiv. But the other pasuk says that they were facing each other. How does he answer this? And the Rashbam clarifies over here. The Gemara cannot answer the same answer, that it depends if Yidden or Oisen Ritzayin Shel Mokim, because according to this opinion, the main way it was made is that they were not facing each other. If you say that the main way it was made is that they were facing each other, then you could say, oh, that expresses the ikr that when Yidden or Oisen Ritzayin Shel Mokim. But according to this opinion, no, it was l'chatchila placed in a way that they were not facing each other. So how does he explain what the pasuk says, Pnei Mishalacha, that they are facing each other? So the Gemara answers, the mitzadedi adzdudi. They were not facing each other, but not completely away from each other. There's a little bit towards the side, tilting a little bit in the direction of one another, but not completely facing one another. So on one hand, they are mainly facing towards the Beis Hamikdash, but a little bit in the side, they were facing each other. That's the type.
The shot is that they're not facing each other. Yeah. So what's being mashma, that most of the time they were not doing the Tzana Shalom.
No, why does it say
now they're coming a middle ground? They're saying a little bit towards each other.
In the second pshat that the Gemara says here, the Gemara does not connect it at all. Whether Oisen or Tzani, not Oisen. This is the way it was always made. It was always positioned that they were facing the Beis Hamikdash, the Heichal, but a little bit tilted towards each other. That's the way it was made. He's saying it brings always in Chassidus from what it says in other places regarding Oisen Ritzayin Shel Mokim. Oisen Ritzayin Shel Mokim means what it says in the first parasha of Shema, and what it says in the second parasha of Shema, is Ein Oisen Ritzayin Shel Mokim, because it doesn't say B'chol Ma'idchem. So Ein Oisen Ritzayin Shel Mokim means that you're not doing the Ratzon, the real, you make up the Ratzon of the Eibush on a very high level. That's when they face each other, that's like a Ish v'Isha, the Ava that there is between them. I mean, the Rashbam brings it here. That's really what the facing each other is. That's a high level of Oisen Ritzayin Shel Mokim. Okay, the Gemara here brings a Braisa. The Tanya, we learned in a Braisa, Unkelis Hager Omar. Unkelis Hager said, Kruvim Maiset Satsuin Hein. The Kruvim are made like Maiset Satsuim. Satsuim is like little children. Satsuim literally means like usually toys of children, right? But here it means Kruvim is made like the face of little children. The Rashbam here brings, the Gemara says in Sukkah, Kruv means Keravya, like a little child. That's the type of Kruvim.
Well, also the word Kruv means cabbage.
Oh, that's a different one.
Fade the baby's
could be. Okay. But over here, the Rashbam brings this union of Ravya. Ravya in Aramaic means a little child. And they are tilting towards each other. Like a student that's leaving from his teacher. So when he's leaving, he's not facing his teacher anymore, but as he leaves, he doesn't go with his back out from his teacher. He goes sideways, still facing his teacher a little bit. And that's, according to this opinion, the way they were made. This is a mimer from the Alter Rebbe in Torah and Parshas Truma. The Alter Rebbe explains this union of Maiset Satsum, of Keravya, the union of the Kruvim. It all represents the Gili of the Shechina that comes from Elam Yisrael Yenim, and it comes down in Ravya, and this Api Zutri, Api Ravrevi. It's all Api Kabbalah. It's understood exactly what the Kruvim in the Kodesh HaKadoshim represents. This is, as we just saw here, the greatest revelation of the Shechina, Makamaran Einim and Amida, in the Kodesh HaKadoshim.
How come they're calling Uncles over here Hager? Everywhere else is called Uncles, so we don't have to call Hager.
It's a Maila, the fact that he was a Ger Emes. A person that owns a pit, inside his friend's house, whether he bought it from him or whether he inherited it this way, but now he has a pit that's inside a private house of your friend. So now, what do you do? When are you allowed to enter there to go access the water of your pit? You should come in the times and hours when people usually come into the house. And you go out in the times when people usually go out. Meaning you can't just come in any time in the middle of the night or whenever it is. Yeah, you go in the usual times when the house is open. And you can't bring your animals inside his house to go and drink from the pit directly to make his house dirty. Elo memale, you have to fill a bucket and you give the animal to drink outside. And another thing, and this one makes a lock on this pit, meaning the owner of the pit makes a lock on it so that that person living in the house should not take from his water. And this one, meaning the person that owns the house, he lives in the house, he also makes a lock on this pit. Okay, so now the Gemara explains, Paisachas, when it says over here that you make a lock on this water on the pit, Lehecha, where is this? Where do you make this lock? Amar Rabbi Yechanan says, Shneim Lebar, both of them. Both the person living in the house, owns the house, and one that owns the pit, they both make a lock on this pit. So the Gemara will explain this. Now it's understood, Balaboir, why the owner of the pit makes a lock on this pit that's inside someone else's house. Because Bayalish Tamurim Maya. He wants to the bayre, that is, he wants to protect the water from his pit that the person of the house should not take from it without his permission. Why is the homeowner making a lock on this pit as well? It's not even his pit. What is he making a lock on it for? That's the Gemara. Amar Rabbi Elazar says, Mishum chashad ishtay. It's because that he doesn't want this person to think that he can come in whenever he wants to the bayre. Like this, he can come in even in a time when he's not home and he's not here, and he could end up being there with his wife. There's Isra of Yichot, to be there alone with his wife when he's not home. So he also has a lock in it. So the owner of the pit could only come and get his water when he's there and open it up for him. Like this, he won't come in when he wants. Yeah. But Rashbam says that Gemara does not say that the owner of the house makes a lock in it because he's afraid that this person will come and steal things when he comes into the house because his wife is there. So his wife, so he's not afraid of that, but he is afraid that that he should not come in a time when his wife is there, when he's not there. So another similar halacha, when you have someone that owns something within your property, that's the way he bought it, or that's the way it was divided. A person that owns a garden inside another person's garden that's outside, surrounding it. That is surrounding it. So now nichnas derech bnei adam nichnasim. So when he wants to get to his garden, so he also should come only in times when people come in. And v'yotze b'shah derech bnei adam yotzin. And he goes out in the times that people go out. He's passing through over here the outside garden. He's causing damage when he's walking on his property. So he can't come whenever he wants. The person outside garden wants to do his work there. So, but there's certain times that when people come, that he's able to go in there. And also, the person that owns the inside garden and he wants to sell from his vegetables to merchants, he's not allowed to bring the merchants inside, and they should also walk through to the garden. And also, if he only wants to walk through, not to go to his inside garden, because from his inside garden he can go to another field that he owns. He can't use it as a shortcut to pass through the outside garden to get to his field. Now this pathway that there is for the inside garden to pass through to the inside garden, who's the one that has the right to plant that area? He's going to be able to step over there to be able to get in, but who could plant that area? The one that owns the outside garden, he's the one that plants that pathway. Now, however, if the one that owns the outside garden gives him a way to get to the inside garden, not right through his garden on the outside. He gives him a pathway from the side. So here he's not having such damage by the one that's walking through to go to his inside garden. They both agreed that he's going to have a place to walk in from the side. So then, in such a case...
So both missions then are talking about concepts of a property within a property.
Yeah, correct. Yeah, that's the concept
the door
here.
And the garden.
Right. So if you gave him over here a pathway to go from the side, midas shneim, over here they both agreed to this. So over here, this is different. It's not like before. Before we were talking about a case where the outside one is really his garden, Elamai, he has to allow the other one on the inside to walk through. So that's really his garden. So over here, it's his, and he's allowed to plant it, and he can stop him when he can come. But over here, if they're both agreeing that he's giving him a space to go in from the side. So over here, we know that they both will meichel to each other, and that this is now a space that belongs to both of them, that is made for that pathway to go into the inside garden. So now nichnas b'shah shehu raitze. So now that pathway, which is from the side, he can enter whenever he wishes. V'yotze b'shah shehu raitze, and he's allowed to go out whenever he wishes. Umachnes l'teicha tagarim. You could also use that pathway to bring merchants there to buy from him. However, even here though, v'lo yikanis miteicha l'teich sad acheres. He still should not use it as a shortcut to go from this pathway to his garden, then to another field. And because this is made from the side and it's been dedicated specifically for a pathway, you're not walking through your friend's garden, but it's made from the side. Over here, the one from the outside garden can't plant it. This is a deal between them that this is made dedicated for a pathway, so none of them could plant this place here. So the Gemara, Amar Rabbi Yehuda, Amar Shmuel. Rabbi Yehuda said in the name of Shmuel, Ama beis hashlachin ani moichelach. If a person says, I'm selling you a water canal that will run through, that will go to your field. Beis hashlachin is a field that constantly needs to be watered, and I'm selling you this water canal that's going through someone else's property. So this is another scenario where you have something that you own going through someone else's property, your water canal that now he's selling you. So how much does he have to give you for this water canal running through his property? So he has to give you a space for the water canal itself that has to be 2 amos wide, and then on the banks of this water canal, he also has to give you 1 amma on each side. And this is one pshat in the Gemara. According to this pshat, Tosfos says that the amma samayim is always called amma. Sometimes it says it's called an amma because it's only an amma wide, but here it actually says it has to be 2 amos wide. So Tosfos says, according to this pshat, it's called an amma because it's an amma deep. That's the depth that this water canal has. But there's another pshat here that Rashbam brings, that when it says here that he has to give him beis amos l'toicha v'ama mikan, it's really one thing. Beis amos l'toicha means that it has to be, the 2 amos are from each side, but the canal itself is only 1 amma wide. Now there's a different kind of canal. Amma beis hakiloin, an amma of another kind of water canal, which is not used to water fields. For that you need more water. This is an amma, a water canal that's used for a person, or the Rashbam here actually says beis hasilain, another word he's going to say in the Gemara. This is water that's used for animals to drink from it, or to do laundry from this water. So you need less water. So this is a thinner water canal, a narrower water canal. So then the water canal itself is an amma wide, and then on the sides of it, the banks of this water canal is a half amma on each side. Now, the water banks, the banks that is from this water canal, who has the right to plant it? So we just said that you have to give it for the person, for the water canal, that he should have that space if he has to fix anything from the water canal and so on. But still, who has the right to plant over there? It's inside someone else. It's water. It's running through someone else's property. Rav Yehuda says in the name of Shmuel, Baal Hasad Zayram, that the owner of the field, he's the one that has the right to plant there. And Zayram means he could plant there vegetables, things that are of that sort. Rav Nachman says in the name of Shmuel, Baal Hasad Naitam, that the owner of the field, he could plant trees there. So the Gemara explains these two opinions. Mandam, Mazayram, the opinion that says that you can plant vegetables there, Kol Shekain Naitam, you can definitely plant trees there. When you plant trees, it doesn't cause the earth that's right there at the surface to become very soft and to cause it to fall down, and to maybe you'll lose those water banks as much as trees. When you plant with trees, the trees is actually less. When you plant trees, the roots of the trees just go down deep, but it stays strong. The earth still stays very hard and strong. But when you plant with vegetables, it softens it much more. So the opinion that says that you can plant vegetables, definitely you're allowed to plant trees there. The opinion that says that you can plant trees there, but you can't plant any vegetables because then you have to dig and soften up the earth to be able to plant your vegetables. Rav Yehuda said in the name of Shmuel, these water canals that you own in someone else's property, that the banks on the sides, they're not there anymore. They fell apart. Where is it? What happens? So you have to fix it. You can take from the earth of this person's field to fix it up again, to fix up the water banks of your water canal. Why? So the Gemara says, because it's known, we assume, if the earth that was around your water banks, it receded or it's not there anymore, so what happened is, we say that the wind blew it, or something happened that the earth that was by the water banks got blown into the rest of the field, so now you can take back from this person's field and put it back there on the side that it should be, that the water canal should be good. But the Gemara asks on this, why would we assume that? Maskef la Rav Papa asks on this reason, the owner of the field should say to the one that owns the water canal, Mayach ashpelua la'arech. What happened is, it collapsed into your water. The moisture, whatever it is, it happened that the water banks, it collapsed inside the canal. But your earth that's around your canals are not in my field. You can't take any earth of my field to fix it. It's inside your canal. You have to take from yourself. But that's what Rav Papa says. The reason for the halacha that Shmuel said is different. Sha'al menas kain kibul olav balasada. This is part of the understanding when you sell someone a water canal in your field, that if he has any problem with the banks of his water canal, that he's going to be able to take from the earth that there is in this person's field to fix it. Because that's part of the understanding. That's part of the condition of allowing and selling someone else a water canal going through his field.